1. Okay. Chapter 10 explains static variables and methods which are shared by all objects of a class. It also introduces the math class for common calculations like absolute value, rounding, and finding minimum or maximum values.
Yeah.
Finally, it covers formatting numbers and dates and converting between string and numbers using parsings.
Mm.
I'll hand it over to Latabo to explain the static super. Okay, so here we have a super class. So what we'll do is that we'll demonstrate a static initialization block. So within our static super class, we'll have a static block. So what this will do is that it will execute only once when the class is first loaded into memory. So when this happens, it will happen before any objects are created. So it will print out within our static block super static block with our system out print line. Then we have our constructor, our static super constructor. So what this will do is that it will execute every time new static super object or a subclass is created. So within our constructor, we have a system out print line which will print out super constructor. So now handing it over to Camilo to explain static tests.
Alright, so this is pretty much the running version, the run file version of static super. So obviously we went over static super and how it initializes all of our stuff. So what happens here is we got a public class. So this extends static super, right? And this has static integer called rand. So the integer is rand. So what this does is it pretty much is like the static variable for our integers, which is actually an integer that's been multiplied by a math random function. So we got math random in the sense where we randomize, the integers that we have within empty brackets times by 6. And then the system output, which is actually a function which prints out, you know, which prints out values, on our your NetBeans would be bracket side block plus rand, which is our variable. Then we got our static tests, which again has the function that prints out the system.out.println constructor. So that gets printed out, and then public static void, it takes our main string along with the arguments. So our string is in empty square brackets, and then our arguments then prints out in main, and then takes static tests, and then that's gonna equal to new static tests. So the variable st is gonna equal new static tests, and then yeah,